Bueno, buenos días, querida audiencia. Estamos aquí para presentar una noticia de alcance. Tenemos un vídeo de un compañero, de un amigo que está muy ilusionado con los BRICS y sin mayor dilación vamos a pasarlo para que todos estéis en posición de escuchar.
Así seremos de
Así
tú a
seremos de
usted.
tú a usted.
Hasta luego. Buah. Dos bandos se están montando en el mundo. El anglosajón, de los que somos toda Europa títeres, peleles, lamebotas, y el mundo de los BRICS. ¿Y si montamos el mundo hispano todo unido? Seremos gigantes. Así, peleles de Tolkiski, ¿eh? Y todos juntos seríamos poderosos.
Una.
De tú a tú con ellos. Así seremos de tú a usted. Hasta luego.
Y bien,
American Super Alliance. BRIC unites.
pues entonces tenemos aquí una buena ocasión para saludar a nuestro amigo y además mandarle una copia de este vídeo, porque está ahora muy atento, pues le he dicho que ya hay una alianza de Cuba y México, con lo cual sería un buen ejemplo a seguir. Vamos a verlo.
Mexico and Cuba. Mexico and Cuba come together in an unexpected turn of events that shakes the foundations of global geopolitics. What was once a dream of intellectuals and dreamers has now become a tangible reality. The BRICS bloc, in its role as promoter of a new multipolar order, has promoted a historic step that unites two of the most emblematic nations of Latin America, Mexico and Cuba. This event could mark the beginning of a new era for the region, forging a great alliance of the century. But what would this union mean for Latin America and the entire world? We are witnessing the birth of a new Mexican empire, this time not as a monarch or a colonial empire, but as a modern, democratic, and sovereign federation. The history of Cuba and Mexico has been marked by a fraternal relationship full of political and social nuances. Mexico's independence in 1821 and Cuba's ongoing struggle for autonomy and social justice have been points of connection between both nations, which have recently been united by the need to reaffirm their sovereignty in a world that, after decades of Western domination, has seen the hegemony of the West slowly crumble. It is in this context of global change that the BRICS bloc emerged, made up of Brazil, Russia, India, China, and South Africa. With more than 20 member and observer countries, this group has emerged as a platform of resistance to the unipolar power of the United States and its allies. Cuba, with its historical resistance to the economic embargo and its ongoing struggle to maintain its socialist model on the island, has been a strategic member of the BRICS bloc's vision, which seeks to strengthen the integration of nations from the global south. Mexico, for its part, has chosen to distance itself from structures such as the G7 and the treaty between Mexico, the United States, and Canada, seeking an alternative path that connects it with other countries in the South, and in particular with Cuba. Following secret negotiations and consultations between the governments of Claudia Sheinbaum, President of Mexico, and Miguel Díaz-Canel, President of Cuba, a binational referendum has been announced to decide whether Cuba will formally become a state within the Mexican Republic. This move could make Cuba the 33rd state of Mexico, a symbolic gesture but one with profound political, social, and economic implications. The proposal is not limited to territorial annexation, but rather seeks to build a federal unit that respects the local and cultural identities of both peoples. Cuba would receive full constitutional rights, representation in the Mexican Congress, and cultural autonomy that would allow it to maintain its educational, health, and political systems. In exchange, Mexico would commit to making massive investments in infrastructure, technology, and energy on the island, fostering a new cycle of prosperity and growth for the Caribbean. This agreement not only has political implications, but also presents an exciting economic horizon. Mexico is a country with vast natural resources such as oil and lithium, and its growing tourism and technology sectors have positioned it as a major player on the international stage. Cuba, for its part, has a cutting-edge biotechnology industry and a geostrategic location that makes it a key node in the Caribbean with access to the Atlantic and Pacific Oceans. The creation of a logistics network connecting these two territories could the interoceanic train that links the Pacific and Atlantic Oceans and currently Caribbean, facilitating trade and regional cooperation. What began as a utopian idea in the speeches of Bolivar and other independence heroes is now projected as a concrete model of Latin work of BRIC. Russia and China have expressed their support for this integration project, providing financial and strategic support for the creation of an economic axis that benefits both countries. In addition, countries such as Brazil and Argentina have shown interest in the idea of a prospect of a politically, socially, and economically united Latin America, with Mexico at the forefront of this new alliance, is beginning to take shape. However, what conducted in both countries show broad popular support for the idea of a union, as long as local identities are respected and the process is democratic, transparent, and fair. Hope for stability and access to a broader health and education system, as well as greater job opportunities.
Hermanos, queramos
In Mexico,
queramos o no queramos, vienen tiempos nuevos. Queramos o no queramos, vienen tiempos nuevos. Políticos, a trabajar. Ya está bien de tanta mamarrachería. Vosotros, hermanos del otro lado del charco, que estáis trabajando y viviendo en España.
Deep concern about the potential impact of this alliance on Caribbean geopolitics. The State Department has warned that a Cuba integrated into Mexico could alter the military and economic balance in the region. Especially with regard to the terms of TEMEC, Canada, which currently limits itself to being a minor trading partner for Mexico, has kept a low profile, while China has applauded the decision, considering this move as a step towards continental Latin American sovereignty. Willing to provide economic and technical support for the implementation of this project, reinforcing the idea of a multipolar Latin America that, unlike in the past, can finally break the chains of dependence on the dollar and economic imperialism. Is this the beginning of the Third Mexican Empire? If the proposal to integrate Cuba comes to fruition, the possibility of a continental federation that includes countries such as Guatemala, Honduras, Nicaragua, or El Salvador seems increasingly close. A new Mexican empire, not as a monarchy, but as a confederation of nations that seek justice, social welfare, and human dignity above the interests of the great powers. This new empire would be democratic, sovereign, plural, and diverse, with millions of voices raised to build a future of unity and cooperation.
Bueno, Amparo, ¿qué opinas de este gran acontecimiento? ¿Estará contento nuestro amigo Jesús?
Bueno, pues Jesús me parece lo que él piensa fantástico y otras ideas, y lo importante es analizar qué es lo que quiere decir Jesús. Y bueno, nosotros ya sabemos y queremos un mundo libre, unos países libres en todo. De todas maneras, estamos luchando por ello y para que la gente tenga una convivencia más sana y feliz. Adelante, Javier, muchos éxitos y viva la libertad de los pueblos. Adelante.
Pueblos hispanoparlantes que están en una perspectiva de ayudar al mundo a encontrar el camino más correcto para que todas las personas tengan su existencia bajo control y tengan una vida más sana y feliz. Adiós, hasta la próxima.
Vale, bye. Bye, chao.